Hey, so welcome to today's video. My name is Rubin. I'm a transformational coach and I specialize in helping individuals overcome social anxiety. Today though, we're gonna be doing a reaction video. I'm gonna react to a video by Sadhguru. I know a lot of you watch his videos, but maybe have difficulties integrating these more so spiritual principles into your practical everyday lives, right? So I'm gonna react to this video from a more internal transformation and a more trauma-informed perspective, okay? So let's get into it right now. All right, so let's not waste any time. Here we go.
When someone has wronged us or has abused us in some way, we either have feelings of hostility and resentment.
Oh, we must file a suit.
No, in a minor sense, if they abuse us or if they wrong us, we sometimes have feelings of resentment and hostility against them. And sometimes we might tend to forgive them and let it go. So my question here is, where must we draw a line to hold the wrongdoer responsible for what he does? And when should we know to forgive him? And when should we know to let it go? So this is the question.
See this.
And so it's a great question, right? I've been getting a ton of these questions lately. How do I deal with bullying? How do I move on from bullying? How do I handle myself when I'm being bullied? And so he's basically asking, you know, when there is this person that transgresses against you, how do you ultimately hold them responsible and then let it go or forgive them? And so really good question. So let's see what the response is here.
This is the question.
See, this is not about the other person. The choice for you is this. If you are given a choice, right now, for all of you, if you are given a choice that you can either live joyfully, blissfully, or miserably, or in anger, or in stress, or in resentment, what is your natural choice? You must choose, I'm going to bless you right now. What is your natural choice? Joyfully.
Joy, of course, I hope so, yeah.
Human being is looking for highest level of pleasantness for himself or herself. You can call it joy, you can call it bliss, these are just words. Essentially, we want highest level of pleasantness for ourselves. If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. If it becomes very pleasant, we call this pleasure. If your mind becomes pleasant, we call this peace. If it becomes very pleasant, we call this joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we call this love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your very life energies become pleasant, we call this bliss. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call this success. Only two.
Yeah, because you know, every human being is striving towards a couple of things. To overcome fear and be happy. At the end of the day, we're all striving towards that thing. In order to achieve those things, you have to have health in the three areas: mind, body, and soul. And that's exactly what he's talking about here. You cannot neglect any one of those areas. So for example, you could be fulfilling the needs of your mind, making your mind happy by moving towards goals and success and all of those things. But if you're not physically healthy, if you're not taking care of your body, you're not going to be happy no matter how much success and money you're making and things like that. So you have to have a balance there. Mind, body, and soul, you have to have health in all three of those areas, and it has to be balanced, okay? So let's get back here.
Only to make your surroundings pleasant, you need the cooperation of all these people. Because in creating an external situation, there are many forces involved. Not all of them you even know. You understand?
Yep.
You want to create a wonderful situation for yourself. You don't even know how many forces are working in that area. If you harness a few forces, if they cooperate, things will happen. If they don't cooperate, it won't happen. But for the pleasantness of the body, pleasantness of the mind, pleasantness of your emotion and energy, it's 100% you. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so what I would say what Sadhguru is talking about is there's the external thing, whether it's, you know, thriving at your job, creating deeper relationships, right? Connecting with people on a deeper level. There's those things there that you're after, the external thing. But more importantly, what he's talking about, the pleasantness, is your internal attitude towards those things. So let's give you an example here. Let's say you're going through a transition. Maybe you're out of university, you're working, you're in a new city, and you've kind of got some distance from your old friend group, and you're in this place where you're trying to make, you know, a new social circle, a new friend, something like that. That's the external thing that you're after. That is something you don't have a whole lot of control of. You move to a new city, you're done school, it's time to get out there in the real world. These are things that you just can't control. And these external things are going to continue to happen in your life until the day you die. You don't have control over these different things. You don't have control over, say, one of your friends did you wrong, or one of your friends is their interests have shifted and they're completely different from you, and you feel like you're drifting, for example. You don't have control over these external things. But what you do have control over, what he's saying is pleasantness, internal pleasantness, is your attitude towards that thing. So if you have, for example, if you have an unconscious rule, we'll call it, in your head, that I only consider myself to have good friendships if I'm speaking to people, you know, every single day, and I'm in contact with them and I hang out with them a few times a week, okay? If you have that unconscious rule or that attitude internally about what friendships are and what a fulfilling social life is for you, then you're going to be internally unhappy, because your external situation, you're in this new city, remember, you're in a new city, you're not in contact with people a whole lot, you're really focused on your career and things like that. Well, then that unconscious rule or that attitude towards your current situation is going to make you unhappy inside. But on the flip side, if you can completely change your perspective, change your frame of how you view friendships and how you view being connected and how you're able to feel connected, you could even feel more connected in that new city than you were in your old city when you were with all of your friends. So for example, you could be among a lot of friends in your old city and still feel alone. Okay, you could still feel disconnected. But let's say you're in this new city and you keep in touch with a couple of people that you really truly connected with on a deeper level, right? And you make it a point to call them, video chat with them, you know, every few days, and really share deep. Really connect with them and be vulnerable and talk about deeper life things that you're going through, okay? Because of that internal shift, because of that inner attitude, if you will, towards these friendships, you might feel more connected than ever by yourself in this new city than you ever did in that old city when you were around a lot of people. And so that's what Sadhguru is saying. You can't always control that external thing. You cannot control the way the world is, right? But you can always control your inner pleasantness. Easier said than done, obviously, way easier said than done, but that is something that's always within your control, okay? So let's get back here.
Surroundings, creating situations in the surroundings, you need cooperation from the people, otherwise it won't happen. So only for success, you need cooperation. To keep yourself pleasant is 100% yours. So right now, you know well that you want to be peaceful, but somebody else is doing something. What are they doing? They know what they know best. They're abusing you. Why are they doing it? Because that's all they know. Yes or no? That is how they know their life. That's why they're doing it. If you become resentful and you think something will happen to them, see, these are things. Anger, resentment, hatred, these are all poisons that you drink and you expect somebody else to die.
Right, so what he's saying, basically, hurt people, okay? Nobody, you know, bullies or tries to put other people down if they have a healthy level and good self-esteem inside. It's just people with healthy self-esteem do not do that. So the reason they're doing that is a deflection away from how they actually truly feel inside, okay? And basically what he's saying is don't take it personally. Again, easier said than done, right? So let's keep going here.
No, life doesn't work like that. You drink poison, you die. It's a very fair life. If you drink poison, you die. Very fair, isn't it so? I drink poison and you die, is it fair? So…
Ooh, so that's, that's a big statement, right? It's a huge statement that you'll find that if you follow a lot of these spiritual teachers, and depending where you're at in your personal development, that can be a very triggering thing and a very hard pill to swallow. Now, when I was drowning in addiction, like mental health issues galore, right? Addictions, ADHD, PTSD, social anxiety, general anxiety. And I remember I was going to these 12-step meetings at the time, and there was this acceptance piece literature that you had to read out every single meeting, and I found it extremely triggering. And I was in a therapist's office telling the therapist how much that pissed me off every time we had to read this reading, okay? So I'm gonna read it off to you, and I'm gonna to give you a better idea of what I mean here, okay? So acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, okay? I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes, okay? And I remember I was sitting at this therapist's office, and I was like, yeah, you know what? What about racism? What about why did I go through such a rough upbringing? What about all of the injustices that happen in the world? And I would absolutely not accept that. The problem isn't in here, it's out there, and I have a right to be angry and resentful. And so what I want to say here is be careful, okay? If you do not believe the world's a fair place, if you are angry, resentful, bitter about things that have happened to you, how your life has turned out, do not pretend to be spiritual, and do not pretend that everything's okay. Do not have fake optimism. The way to come to acceptance, right? When I read this paragraph now, it energizes me. Like I 100%, I know it's true, okay? But I had to do a ton of work and heal a ton of trauma and past experiences and pain, and clean up so many relationships, set so many boundaries, have so many hard conversations to get to this place. I had to really, quote unquote, clean the wreckages of the past in order to get here. So don't try to just have this attitude preemptively before you actually go out there and you do the work, and also internally before you take a look at this pain that you're holding inside. So ultimately, is it a fair world? Yes. But is it also a dog-eat-dog world? Is it a world where people are mean and at each other's throats? Yes, it is. It's all of those things. It's all of those pockets exist here in the world. But it really depends where you put your time, attention, and energy at the end of the day. And that also, obviously, that where you put your time, attention, and energy depends on your past experiences and if you've come to terms with them, whether or not you've come to terms with them, okay? So let's get back. Let's see what else is going on here.
So, people who are in anger, resentment, hatred, this is their thing. They are drinking poison. When I say poison, I am not saying in a moral sense. There is substantial medical evidence right now that we can show you with a blood test that 5 minutes before you take your blood test right now, 5 minutes you may remain in extreme anger and take your blood test, you will see you're chemically poisoned actually. So you're literally poisoning yourself, thinking it's going to hurt them. No, it's only going to hurt you. So it doesn't make sense to me, that's all. It's not a morality, whether you should get angry or not get angry. It's up to you if you want to make a mess out of yourself.
Wow, okay, so basically what, and that's 100% true. Anger is actually, it's absolutely toxic to have in your body, okay? Energetically, this was proven as well by David R. Hawkins, world-renowned psychiatrist. He's backed spirituality with science and with his studies and with his work, okay? Now, anger is a manifestation of fear. It's a lower vibration emotion when you feel it in the body. Say, if you feel something more loving, like gratitude, right? Gratitude, acceptance, things like that. Those are gonna feel good internally. Anger, when it's bubbling up inside you, it's actually very toxic. And if you're chronically angry, you're constantly angry, it has been shown you're gonna have, you're gonna be more prone to heart disease. Your mental health is gonna go down. You're more prone to mental illness. And so what he's saying here, it's right. Like I get it. I 100%, I agree with what he's saying. But again, this is after. This would be if you're in a much more advanced stage, spiritually, physically, emotionally, psychologically, then you can come at this frame of mind, if you will. Because one of the problems that I see with these modern spiritual teachings, right, is they're not trauma informed. Okay? So you can see Sadhguru has this belief that, okay, if it's anger, it's your problem, just choose not to get angry because you're gonna only affecting yourself, okay? That's a very hard thing to do. And if you have tough experiences, again, if you've been through certain levels of trauma, pain, right? If you have anxiety, if you have any sort of destructive impulsivity, compulsivity, it's extremely hard to control your mind like that, okay? And it's very hard to control your actions. You cannot control if you get angry, okay? If somebody is treating you a certain way, your body and your emotional system is gonna react right away. Anger is gonna bubble up. 100%, it's gonna bubble up. Now, where the choice point is do you let that anger become expressed through? Do you express that anger outward, or do you suppress it and keep it inward? Because going back to the 12-step example, right? Say Alcoholics Anonymous, groups like these. Resentment is the #1 offender in that organization, which causes people to drink. Millions and millions and millions of people around the world. That's how powerful anger and resentment is. So I kind of cringe when I hear this, oh, just don't get angry, you're only hurting yourself, okay? Why don't you just not get angry? You're stupid if you get angry. I've seen this type of content out there. But what I see is that people take this advice and take it too far, and what they end up doing is suppressing their anger all the way down, trying to stuff it away and bury it away. And what ends up happening is they get silently angry. They don't even know they're angry. They have so much anger and resentment bubbling up inside them. So what happens is because it can't flow freely through them, so they end up, right, with all of these anxiety disorders, addictions problems, ruminating thinking, destructive impulsivity and compulsivity, like I was saying, because the anger is so suppressed and locked away. And you cannot do that because when you bury it, it's absolutely toxic and poisonous, remember, to hold in your body like that. Now, a few years ago, for a couple of years, I attended a men's community, a men's group here in Vancouver. We would meet up every single Monday for 3 hours, and you would talk about, any issues that you were dealing with. You would get feedback, right? People would call you out if they felt you weren't on your mission and moving forward with your purpose in life and taking action, constant action. And it was a very good group for accountability, support, and all these different things, okay? One of the key goals of that organization was to reconnect men with their anger. Because these days there's such a stigma with men being angry, right? That it went way, way, way too far. okay? And so the goal essentially was to reconnect men with their anger. And so there was a lot of work around anger, releasing anger around your mother, releasing anger around your father, releasing anger about why your life hasn't turned out the way you expected it to turn out. You have a right to be angry. And that demonstrates how important it is to reconnect with your anger so that you can transcend it. Do you see the difference? You're connecting with it. You're not pretending it's not there. Very, very important distinction. Because if you have more self-esteem issues, if you're dealing with shame, for example, or guilt, okay? You feel like you're not good enough. These types of feelings. There's something wrong with you. These types of feelings, okay? Anger is energetically superior to that, okay? It's actually healthier to have anger in your body than it is guilt. And even on a higher frequency is more loving. Remember, gratitude, acceptance, courage, things like that. Those are even more powerful than anger. But the thing is, you can't bypass anger. And that's a really important thing that people will get into because of this work here. They look at spiritual videos and all these things and they end up trying to bypass. In other words, suppress their anger and pretend, like I was saying, like it's not there. That is not possible. You're gonna have to get through that perfectionistic stage and be able to let your anger come out in an imperfect way in order to transcend it. So ultimately, yes, I agree, inner pleasantness, yes, it all has to do with your perception of things, your attitude towards the things that are happening in your external life. If you are constantly angry and resentful, yes, it doesn't really, affect the other people. It affects you. It's toxic, it's unhealthy, but that doesn't mean you disown it. You have to move through it, lean into it, for it to not have any control over you any longer, okay? So don't make the mistake, fake optimism, do not bypass, and really understand that the emotional, the deep emotional work, the healing from your traumas, the healing from your pain and your past experiences, that is the conduit to having this level of acceptance or having this spiritual outlook that we just covered in this video that Sadhguru has, okay? And so if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And if you want to follow me more closely, I'll put a link to my Instagram below the video. It's got daily tips, inspiration, and just content, a ton of helpful content to just help you along your healing journey and your recovery journey. Also, I have a Facebook group, and you can join that below. I'll put that in the link below as well. You can join that, come in, connect, ask me questions, and get my advice on anything you need there, okay? So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want me to do a different react video to someone else, just put it below in the comments and I'll do my best to get that as soon as possible. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.